And welcome back to the Young Dad Podcast with your outside grilling, mowing the lawn, changing dirty diapers, or maybe, just maybe, you finally got a moment to sit back, relax, and listen to your favorite podcast, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Thanks for being here and thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm joined by Corey Parchman, a former NFL player turned into a real estate developer, author, and fatherhood advocate. He's the president of CorePar Development, a leader in revitalizing communities through purpose-driven housing. He's also the founder of the IVF Playbook for Men, a multi-platform support hub dedicated to helping men navigate the emotional, relational, and financial toll of infertility and IVF. Corey's mission is powerful to create generational wealth, support resilient families, and empower men to show up fully. So, if you're excited for this one, I know I am. Go ahead and grab your juice box, grab a snack, and let's welcome Corey to the show. Corey, welcome.
How you doing, Jay? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Super excited to have you. I think well, I don't know if he played in the NFL or not. He might have, but I think you may be the first, if not the second, former NFL player I've had here on the show.
Okay. All right.
So the other one I can think of is
Hopefully I'll be
Art Eddy.
memorable. Hopefully I'll be memorable once I leave this show, right?
I hope so. I hope so. The only other one, and I'm not sure if he played in the NFL or not, but Art Eddy, he hosts the Art of Fatherhood podcast.
Okay. No, I don't know Art. No.
I'm not sure if he played or not, but he's a really cool dude too. But anyways, enough of that. So let's start with first your NFL career a little bit. You played for the Jaguars and the Packers. You were a wide receiver, correct?
Yes, wide receiver. Yep.
And
Jacksonville and Green Bay were the main two teams, but I spent a little bit of time with the Colts, St. Louis Rams, and Oakland Raiders. But the main, when you're explaining the elevator, it's too hard to explain every team you played for. So you kind of explain the tail end, the beginning and the tail end of your career.
most definitely. So who drafted you?
So I was the undrafted free agent by the
Okay.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep, in 2002, Tom Coughlin was the head coach.
Cool. Very cool. So let's fast forward to 2025 today. Who's your team now?
Well, I tell people all the time that I just want to see a good game at this point in time. What's really cool now is I have a lot of teammates or guys I know are now coaching in the NFL, or I even have some, which those guys are older than me, but I have some who have kids in the NFL. So I kind of follow the guys that I played with that are currently coaching and some of the guys, a few of the guys who have kids that are playing NFL. So just want to see a good game. I don't have a team I cheer for. Of course, Jacksonville is very dear to my heart, but yeah, definitely just want to see a good game.
I hear you. What are your thoughts on fantasy football?
So fantasy football was kind of coming along when I was playing. I remember when I was not that long ago when I was playing, but it was coming along and a guy I know owned a car dealership. He told me he was going to draft me for his fantasy team. I was like, yeah, if you want to win, you probably going to be a good idea to draft me because I'm not going to give you any points as a wide receiver. But I think it's a good way for people to engage with football. I think it's a way to keep them connected. I never really played myself, but definitely I've seen enough uproar about it that it's something that's good for the league and it's good to keep you connected. And it has your casual football fans interested also, so that's a good thing. You want to bring as many people as you can into the tent. Well, that's kind of, and what's funny is when I ever hear about football polls at offices or anything like that, the women seem to win all the time. So I think it's a matter of sometimes just skill of or luck of winning those fantasy football leagues.
I think so. But you know what they say? Once you get the women in, then that's when your business or your sport or whatever you're working on really takes off. Is once you get the women bought in, kind of
Yeah,
thing. And I know the women at my office right now. I work in mental health, and I know the women this year. They're already asking about it. They're already asking if we're going to do a league this year, and I'm like, it's June. They're like, yeah, but I'm just trying to start preparing and stuff, and I'm like, this is crazy, but cool. I
yeah. I
love it.
tell my wife all the time, guys like us or people like me, women or female that are diehard football fans or played it, you're gonna watch. It's when they can get that casual fan to engage. That's when you got a winner right there. People like her, when they can get her engaged into a storyline or get her engaged into, some of the games, then that's when you bring an extra audience in. So you got us as core audience automatically, but if you can bring that casual fan in to become a core fan, then you've done something.
Huge difference. And then, what are your thoughts on sports betting? Because it wasn't
Well,
really a thing when you were first in the league.
no, that was the reason why I don't do it now is because, when I was playing, that was a big no-no, even talking
Hmm.
about betting. You would see like these posters in the locker rooms all the time and say, don't bet on it. So, that's kind of embedded in me right now at this point in time that, just never ever done it. Even in college, you saw signs in the locker rooms talking about no gambling, no betting. So from that standpoint, I've never entertained it personally myself. I think it's once again a way to bring fans into it But I think what NFL figured, if there's gonna be money to be made off of it, let's make money off of it. So I think that's why they kind of got on board. It's going to happen, right? It's like almost like drugs. Like, well, if we legalize it, we can control it more. So I think that's kind of the thought process. But like I said, it never was a thing when I was playing, and now that I'm not playing anymore, it's still not a thing for me. But I think people do like it though.
Love it. Love it. All right. And then last football related question here. We'll probably have more as we get into it, but who is your 2025, 2026 season Super Bowl pick? Who's your Super Bowl matchup? Right. Who's your matchup in June right now going into OTAs and minicamp?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna give you a long answer, then I'm gonna give you my answer. I think the biggest thing I always know is football season is a long season. So, I can predict this team because they look good on paper, but, two injuries or, a bad start, those things happen. So, I do like, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And of course I have T Martin is the quarterbacks coach, was my roommate in Oakland. So I'm really, really cool with him. So I'm cheering for them based on him and also what they have out there. And also a good friend of mine, Aaron Moorhead, who's a wide receiver coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. So those two teams right there, because I have like some close friends that are coaching, and plus they have good teams also. If I had
Yeah,
to
great
pick
team.
right now,
Ravens, Eagles.
Ravens Eagles, yeah, I think that would be a great Super Bowl.
I like it. And then if you had to pick a team that you just really want to be there or your sleeper team, who do you think people are sleeping on in the NFL this year?
Sleeping on. Once again, it's a tough. I don't think people are sleeping on them, but I don't know if they're the favorites right now. I think that Washington has a good, and Washington and Houston Texans, they have these good young quarterbacks out there. And I think when you have that nucleus of those good young quarterbacks, then you always have an opportunity to play. I live in Indianapolis, so of course I would love for the Colts to be able to right the ship. They have a great young quarterback, Anthony Richardson, have a
I
lot
thought
of talent.
Daniel Jones was their future. I'm just playing.
Daniel
I'm just
Jones is
playing. I'm just playing.
here.
I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm playing.
Yeah, let's hope Daniel Jones is a backup. I think if he's starting, then we have more troubles than I think we are bargaining for. Not saying he's not a good quarterback. What I'm saying is we drafted Anthony Richardson for a reason in the
Hey,
first
he's won a
round.
playoff game. He's won a playoff game. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
Danny
yeah.
Dimes. Come on now. I'm just
Yeah,
playing.
but at the same time, you drafted a guy in the first round, and he had this long trajectory to go up. If he's not playing by now, then I think that it's not going the way you would like it. So it's not that I'm saying Daniel Jones not a good quarterback. I think if anybody that plays in NFL is a quarterback. What I'm saying is if
I know. I know.
your first round draft pick isn't
Yeah.
the
No, I know what you're
starter,
saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. No, I think
something's going on there. So I'm always, rooting for, the young guys to be able to turn things around. Because once again, we're in a league now where and I know why it's like this. So people are expecting quarterbacks to be great right now. And it's because you have the quarterback in Washington, you have the quarterback in Houston that are doing those things. But, think about the entire league. Most quarterbacks don't start out like good. I mean, it takes a while for them to develop. But when you have two quarterbacks that have that great start, then they're now expecting you to do the same thing, which
it
that wasn't
raises the
always
bar.
the case. Think about Peyton Manning when he first started. I think Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions, things like that. So I think that because of expectations are changing with your first round draft picks. Now the more pressure is to perform right now. So I think that's what Anthony Richardson is going through. Also some health issues also. So I think those things are in his favor, the expectations plus the health issues. So we'll see. But like I said, it's always good when the city's buzzing. We're buzzing right now because of the Pacers are doing great. And you just see the electricity going through the city. And if you could transfer that same energy into football for 18, 17 weeks, then that's just an amazing feeling around the city.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I think, what is it? Today's June 19th. I think today's game 6. I think game 6 is today.
Yeah, game 6 today. So yeah,
Win or go home. Win or go home for the Pacers. So we'll see if
yeah, it's great to
Hallie
see them.
can get it today.
Yeah, it's great to see them. Like I said before, there's just so much energy in the city. I think that's what people realize that when you have a winning team, it brings everyone out. And even you, once again, your casual fans are. I'm okay with people to jump on the bandwagon. It's okay. I think that at the end of the
Hmm.
day, energy is energy, and good vibes is good vibes. So whether you were day one for first game of the year or then start watching the game 80, I think it's okay. Just being a fan is being a fan. That's okay.
And I love what Indy did back when they hosted the All-Star game. I think y'all did it right in Indy.
Mhm.
The airport was decked out, transformed the airport into a court, and the city went all in. And I love to see when that happens for sports. And it's like, really, it's like we're gonna go all out for this. We're not gonna scamp. We're investing in this. We're hosting this, so let's make it worth it, kind of thing. Because we're a small market, and we gotta make it. We gotta show everyone that we deserve to have more of these. small markets can do this kind of thing. And I think the NBA playoffs this year are a huge testament of that to
Yes.
small markets. Just they're better than we think. The Thunder have been a rebuild for the last, you know, 7, 8 years to get to
Mhm.
where they're at now, to get all the pieces, to move all the pieces, to make all the moves. They play the long game to get there. I think they have a great team, great core, great building. A lot of those guys that are on the bench right now, they're going to go off and get massive deals, huge paydays in
Yeah.
free agency, which is really cool to see. It's great because they can just reload through the draft and they'll be fine. So they'll be able to keep their overhead low and just keep doing really great stuff.
They have three first round draft picks coming up. You know, their general manager, I mean, he got to be amazing. I mean, he's the one who drafted
Presti,
Harding, drafted Kevin Durant, drafted Westbrook. So this guy has a track record right now of being great. So you put that with three more first round draft picks, who knows what he's going to do? But
yeah,
at the same time, I hope that they come up short this year so our Pacers can be the champions. And back to the hosting thing, I think that we've always been great at hosting things. I think we really showed that during the Super Bowl. We host the Super
mhm,
Bowl. And one thing that's unique about, by me playing professional football, I'll be able to travel and go to All-Star games, Super Bowl. One unique thing about Indianapolis, everything is located centrally downtown. Like all the convention center, everything's in one place. Normally, when you go to an All-Star game or Super Bowl, you have to drive 6, 7 miles to each venue. All our venues are centrally located, which makes it convenient. So you're not stuck in one place. So if you go to an event and it's like, well, I want to go somewhere else, it's a walk across the street or down the street. It's not, I got to hop in a cab or get an Uber and go across town. So
that's
that's what
convenient.
makes Indianapolis so unique and great is everything is centrally located to where all the events are happening downtown in one area. You can jump from place to place, and that's pretty amazing for the city.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Those businesses must boom when they're in the thick of it. That must be
Yeah,
so fun though. Must be such a fun time down there
and
in
that's
that
why everyone
downtown
like that
atmosphere.
hoops. So well, I hope for the Colts to be good because once again, that's another 18 weeks of great time or 18 plus weeks of great time. So you always depend on the market. It's interesting when I was in Miami at the time and LeBron was playing for the Miami Heat, and I'd gotten word from some investors that you should buy now in Cleveland downtown because once he left, it all dried up. So when he was
Mhm.
in Miami, a year or two before he left, I got the word that you should be buying up some real estate or buying up some businesses in downtown Cleveland because he's coming back. And once again, this is maybe 2 years before he came back. And of course, he came back, and those restaurants and bars took off again.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
that's so cool. Uh, Man, what a story and what a some good Super Bowl picks there. And these cities, some cities just really depend on their teams to do well. And I would love to see Anthony Richardson do well. Several of my fantasy teams would love to see Anthony Richardson do well.
I
My
bet,
dynasty
I bet.
squads would love to see it. I love how you picked the three teams of really young quarterbacks.
Yeah.
We saw what happened with Stroud. He had a great rookie season, then he had a sophomore slump. We're gonna see what Jaden Daniels is in year two. I think he's gonna be great. I think the Commanders are gonna be great. I think everything they've done since firing whatever his name is, we're not going to say his name, but since they made the organizational change, top down leadership, that organization is set up for success now going forward. And then same for the Texans and whatnot. Like these are three well run organizations now. Not sure what the Texans are doing with their O line. They want to trade everyone and make
Yeah.
CJ Stroud's life harder, but we'll see. We'll see. And then Richardson, I really hope he works out. He has all the talent in the world. He has all the arm talent in the world. I think he's just really got to put the pieces together mentally and not during the middle of a game,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
take on
yeah,
more of a leadership role. And I think that comes with time, and I think that comes with age, and I think that comes with maturity.
yeah, yeah,
Because I
yeah,
think what a lot of people miss is you're a young guy, you're coming out of college, you're 20, 21, 22 years old. You don't even have a fully developed brain, and you're going into the NFL. Uh,
yeah.
and the pressure's higher, the money's bigger, the stakes are higher, more fans, more pressure, more attention, things like that. And I think we got to realize like these young men are just young men and they're young and they're just starting out. They don't have fully developed brains. So they're going to make some stupid decisions like Shadur Sanders driving 100 miles an hour again at midnight as well. So we'll see what happens, but
Yeah,
those teams are exciting.
yeah, I think that, oftentimes those expectations are put on, athletes for a number of reasons, but at the end of the day, they're still human beings and they still make mistakes. But I think that being a former athlete myself, I have a little bit of grace and a little bit more. I empathize more with those guys because what you just said, I don't think people understand the pressure that is put on athletes. And I couldn't imagine a day with Instagram and social media, how much more. So you take what I went through as a player or I've seen as a player and times it by 1,000, where everything is under a microscope now and everyone has a comment, everyone has a place, everyone has a thought process. Normally when where you had your major news stations and CBS, Fox, ESPN, where the only time you heard commentary about an athlete, now there's so many platforms where people have so many ideas and thoughts and opinions about things. And that's why I do appreciate LeBron. Michael Jordan and Kobe, my favorite players, but I don't know if I know for a fact Michael Jordan didn't go through the scrutiny that LeBron has gone through. And this is not me debating who's better, who's worse. The point is a lot more scrutiny. With Michael Jordan, he quit talking to ESPN, Sports Illustrated. They made an article about he didn't like, and he totally cut them out. He was able to do that and eliminate the entire media source with
Now if a
one
player does that,
idea.
they get fined. Now if a player does that, they don't talk to the media, they don't answer questions, now they get fined. It's like these guys don't wanna talk. I feel bad for, like, NFL players, like, right after, like, a big loss or something or a tough loss or heartbreaker, like, "Oh, go sit in front of the microphone actually and answer questions." Like, give these dudes some time to process, like, go talk to the winning team, that's fine, but give these men some time to process what just happened, and then,
It's not a,
you know
it's not about you. It's about that how much time that network has on TV. They want
Yeah.
to get you out because they only have a certain amount of time to broadcast things. It's I want to get out there as fast as possible, and things are fleeting. There's one thing that us foreign players talk about is the access that the media has right now. It's just good.
Is
It's a
it
gift
too
and a curse.
much?
The gift and the curse, because these guys are making off of media attention. You're making more money by doing advertising and getting exposure. At the same time, there are certain, like for example, one thing that I don't really like is when they show so much of the sideline action, and you see like a guy, two teammates arguing with the coaches. That's been going on for centuries, but now you actually see it. It's like, oh, what's dysfunction? Or these guys are out of control. Players have been arguing with coaches and each other on the sideline for years. It's part of the game. But now you're actually seeing it because the cameras are zooming over there and catching it. It makes it seem like it's a storyline that's not really a storyline, it's just a part of the
Mhm.
nature of the game. We're very competitive when we play. It's a competitive, intense moment. Everyone wants to win, so a lot of things come out during those times, and it's not
Plus
necessarily,
you're
well,
grown men though too. You're grown men,
yeah,
like, that's how grown men interact at the same time.
yeah.
Especially when you're all hyped up like you're saying here, like,
Mhm.
you're gonna say some stuff and you may not like it in the moment, but after, I'm sure, like, in the locker room, once tensions are cooled and the moment's over, I'm sure both parties, I'm sure it happened to you more than once, I'm sure both parties went to each other and be like, "Yo, look, that was my bad, I was a little out of line there," or, other side of that is like, "Yo, you good, man, you good, I
Yeah,
understand,
yeah.
all good that ends well," kinda thing, like, no harm, no foul, it was a moment, you good. I'm sure that was the conversation majority of the time.
99% of the time, it was a hug and a high five afterwards. Like, man, I get it. I know. And you move on and you like develop that relationship. But once again, when it's broadcast, it's taken out of context so
Yep.
much. That those guys are fighting, those guys out of control. It's like, nah, that's part of the game. If you only seen the half of what went on behind the scenes, you probably wouldn't probably be
And that's how
surprised.
men interact. Like all these sportscasters that are men know that's how men interact. That's how the bond grows. If you ever played any sport competitively, like my highest level I got to was D3 baseball.
Mm-mm.
And even then, it's like you still have that fire, that intensity. You get into it with a teammate here and there. You push or maybe get in each other's face and say some things you don't mean. But then after the game, tensions are lower. You're in practice a couple days later, next day or whatever. It's chill. You're laughing about it, like, man, I really effed up yesterday, or dude, you were kind of a dick yesterday. And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah, yeah.
"Yeah, I know, I
My
know, I
bad.
know.
My
My
bad.
bad, my bad. It's all good, it's all good, so and that's how it is. I mean, you act like that's not sports culture, but that that's sports culture. That's just what it is. Not heartful, we're not trying to hurt each other, you're not trying to tear each other down. I'm sure there are those instances where there are some dudes that are out for blood, but like you just said, 99% of the time, it's, we good," kinda thing that later, so
I think that what people don't realize is like football is probably the ultimate place where it happens at, because football is one of the sports in most professional sports, especially football, where everyone knows you had to work hard to get there. You can't fringe your way on an NFL team. You can't know somebody to know somebody, know somebody to get on a team. You have
yeah,
to
you
actually
can't
make
Bronny
the
James
team.
it. You can't Bronny James it.
Even though with the Bonnie James thing, I think that if you look at his stats, he's probably did better than any other person drafted in his place.
He tore up the G League. He tore up the G League. I will give him props. I will give him props. He tore up the G League. I think he's I don't think he's NBA ready yet. I think he needs another year or two in the G League. Let him develop. Let him really refine his game. And I think LeBron needs to be out of the league for him to get respect in a little bit. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Bronny's just he's not set up for success. I wish he would have stayed at USC for another year or refined his game even more, shown, he could come back from that injury, not injury, but from that heart condition that he had to go through and everything. And, work his way back, get himself back up to strength. Cause I don't think he was fully healthy last season.
No, no.
Even then coming back, you can see it in his game a little bit. He got real comfortable towards the end of the season playing in the G League and whatnot. He was more free. He was more flowing, but the beginning of the season, he was on a minutes restriction. They were holding him back. He wasn't, hustling. He wasn't giving 110% like you would on an NBA floor. He just wasn't there all the way. Towards the end of the season, you saw the confidence start to build and build and build, which I wish he could have done at USC and not having to jump between the Lakers and the G League all season. I think that was bad for his psyche, and I think they low-key messed him up a little bit, but
Hopefully about that from me. I think that, I think if you say to yourself, like, we're the best training ground at USC or the G League or NBA, I think they have the best training. I think that if I was going to say to myself, okay, where can I get the best training at? Where can I get the best competition at? Where can I get the best service at? I'd probably say the league is
yeah.
hopefully that spotlight isn't on him as much as he developed. That's the problem. That's why you would say stay at USC because the spotlight's going to be, you can develop and there's no spotlight like it is in the NBA. But in the NBA, there's better training, but it's more spotlight. So you can't develop naturally. It's tough because everyone, like at USC, if he's learning how to dribble, for example, no one's going to see that. And he gets better and better and better. It's an example. But in NBA, if he's learning how to do certain things, it's a big spotlight. So it's going to be
Yeah.
criticized over and over and over again.
Which is why
So,
I think he should have stayed at USC to refine those parts of his game that needed the work, so then he
mhm,
could jump in and play for the Lakers legitimately and play 12 minutes a game, 15 minutes a game, and produce.
mhm,
Shoot 30% from the field, maybe 25% from three, and 85% from the line,
yeah,
and still be productive in that role. And I don't think people would have had a problem with that. It's like, oh yeah, we know he's not LeBron, but he's still a productive NBA player with room to grow still. Like his
yeah.
game got better. He popped off for 30 points off the bench that one night. He hit 7 threes, he just popped off kind of thing. That's the spark we want to see because he developed and had that coming in already. I just don't think his bag's all the way there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll get a kid some time, and we'll see. Like I was talking
Yeah.
about earlier in
Yep.
the conversation, those guys are so young, their brains still developing, their minds still developing. Let's give them an opportunity to see.
Especially for the
What,
NBA. Especially
yeah,
for the NBA. Like these dudes are 18, 19 years old still coming out, getting into this versus the NFL where dudes are 22, 21, 22 at times. I mean, RJ Harvey's like 50 for the Broncos.
I read somewhere that there's some guy in college football now who's like on his 7 year eligibility. Something crazy. Did you hear about that?
I
Anybody
think
know
he
about that?
just graduated. I think that was the backup tight end for Penn State.
Okay, okay, okay. What was that about? Like his 7 year
He Well,
eligibility?
it's because they had because the transfer portal now, which I would love to get your thoughts on the transfer portal, NIL, and just do shipping around. Like Quinn Ewers went. I think Quinn Ewers is now down in. He's in Miami. He's with the
It's
Dolphins
Miami,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, but he bounced around a bit. Like these dudes in the NFL, they're getting a little older and they're coming in a little bit more refined. And you also see that happening for the MLB. Some of these dudes that are like getting fast tracked. Paul Skeens, I mean, he spent less than a year in the minors, but he already came in well refined because he spent 4 years in college, maybe five, I think, because he had eligibility and it carried over and he just, played it out kind of thing. So, uh, what do you think of like the transfer portal, NIL, and then how some of these athletes are coming in a little bit older and things like that?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, you like to say, well, back in my day, we persevered through it. As far as transferring, and that was one of my stories. I went to Ball State University. Once again, I was even in there, I was ineligible my first year being there. So, I had Division I talent, in high school. I mean, I was getting recruited by every single body in this country. But once they saw my grades were horrible, they stopped recruiting me. So you go to a Ball State, which is fine. I mean, they gave you opportunity. But then as you're there, you're like, okay, I probably could play at Ohio State or Michigan. So do you transfer? Those are the thoughts that you have because back when I played, well, say back in my play, but when I was in college, you had to sit out a year if you transferred, or if you went down a level, you could play immediately. So that kind of detoured a lot of us from playing. But at the same time, by me staying, I persevered through everything, and it made me a better football player and a better person because of that. So those are the good things but with staying. At the same time, I understand why guys might want to leave, but I do understand also that the transfer portal is so full. A lot of guys don't even make it out of the transfer portal. I've heard nightmare stories about how guys open to the transfer portal, didn't redeem the scholarship they had, and then the school they thought they were going to end up getting someone else. So they end up being out on the limb with nothing. So those are the sides. I think people should look at those numbers and say, okay, all right, I want to with a plan, put a plan together on the transfer portal. Let's say I'm going to put my name in. I had a kid that I was mentoring at Ball State, and we had a conversation, and then within the end of the year, he's like, I'm leaving. I'm like, where are you going? I don't know yet. I'm like, but you've already established a nucleus with this coaching staff and you've already been here for 2 years. You're gonna push the reset button, and that's a decision he made. And I think that if they had more counsel or advisors around them, which guys probably don't, they would probably think twice before they would transfer because the grass is not going to be greener necessarily on the other side. So I think that if they wish there was some situation where they could have more mentors, a neutral person that can talk to them about it, the transfer. So there's gonna be gifts and curse to everything. And I think that the gift is the opportunity to transfer. The curse is you may not get opportunity to transfer. You may get out there and get stuck. So I don't know how they can rein this thing in. I wish if I had one rule though, you're going to transfer one time. This jumping around every year, I think it is so unstable for so many different reasons. So I think if there were the rule, I would like to say they can transfer once, not just every time you feel like you're not getting opportunity here. So that would be my only thing about that. As
Yeah,
far
stick it out.
as the NIL, man, that's the wild, wild west. I was talking to my agent the other day, and it's how they're having to start the process now with high schoolers. Initially my agent would work with, once you're in college, you prove yourself. He's now starting to have to work with high schoolers, and high schoolers are asking for a crazy amount of money. So I don't know how they're going to wrangle this thing in because the tube is out of the toothpaste, but it definitely need to be regulated somehow, some way, just so there could be some order involved because right now it's the wild wild west. You got high schoolers, they're asking for about 80K to go into the senior high school to think about going to your college. You have those things going on, and a lot of it is, to be told, it's the handlers, the family members, and the AAU coaches and the coaches who are actually driving this number like it is. They're influencing these kids. I mean, these kids know what the value of money, but they don't understand the value of these agents do or these AAU coaches do. So that's where there has to be some sort of regulation because there's so many outside source people who are just taking advantage of these kids' opportunities and actually ruin it for them. I think that we need to show more of these stories where guys' careers are being ruined versus the highlight reel of Quinn Ewer. Even with him, he should have stayed at Ohio State. I think that he should have backed up 1 year, 2 years, and been not. But him going to, I think it stifled his career a little bit, and that's my opinion. But I do think that we need to talk more about these guys who are transferring, who aren't having the success necessarily that it seemed like you can have once you transfer.
Yeah. No, I think the guys who stick it out that can show that they can be a 4-year player or 3-year player, whatever they need, without, whatever, and maybe they get moved around on the depth chart or something. Like I think a perfect guy in the example from this last draft, wide receiver, Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State.
Yeah.
He stuck it out, but dude, he played behind JSN, he played behind Marvin
Harris.
Harrison, he
Yeah,
played
yeah.
behind you name him in the last 4 or 5 years. Garrett Wilson, and I think he was a 5th year guy too.
Hmm.
But he had every opportunity to go somewhere and be the dude,
Yeah.
like the dude. If he would have transferred anywhere, he would have been the dude. He still had great draft capital. He landed in a great spot with the Bucks. I'm sure he could not be happier. He gets
Mhm.
to be the next dude up after Chris Godwin and Mike Evans here in the next couple years, and show out, kind of like JSN, kind of had to wait a year or two before he became the dude in
Yeah.
Seattle, like he is now. But I'm a big Seattle Seahawks guy, so I'm a big JSN stan.
Jamal, my good friends, Jason Barnes is an NFL scout out there, Seattle. He
Dang, I
gives
would
me
love it.
inside on what's going on out there. But then I wonder.
That's
So I
good
had a friend
stuff.
of mine that plays for a college, visit one college basketball team. He just transferred out, and the reason why he transferred out is because they actually brought in two more transfers. So I think that's the other flip side of it too, is where you have guys that are trying to stick it out, and then the coach brings in two more players. And you would say, okay, let's say it's competition, but if you bring in two players, your ideal is for them to play right away. So
Yeah, if
that's
you're
the flip
bringing
side
him
of
in
it.
intentionally, yeah.
And then the other side of that is these high school kids are not getting a fair opportunity to get recruited because what's happening now is coaches are saying, I'd rather bring in a guy at a 2-year college starter at running back versus a senior in high school starter. So those things are oftentimes
Yeah, give me that
there
JUCO
also.
kid. Give me that JUCO
Yeah.
kid that just tore it up for a couple years versus high schooler who may not be nothing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing too. So you have that where I have a few friends where their sons were really good in high school, but they rarely got recruited because they're like, we're waiting on the transfer portal, waiting on to see who's going to open up before we give you an offer. And then most of the time they'll have to go to like a Division 2 or Division 3 school to go play it right away. And then the trickle down effect that is now your Division 2 schools, Division 1 AA schools, NI schools are now farm leagues for Division 1 schools. So
Yep.
it's been a snowball effect in so many
Yeah.
ways on how it's been affected. I got a friend of mine that coaches at Western Kentucky, and they lost 8 players, and the 8 players they lost, nobody recruited them at all out of high school. They recruited and developed them, and those 8 players have transferred to Division 1 A schools. So yeah, it's just been a trickle down effect in so many levels with the transfer portal and NIL. So it's just interesting.
Interesting to see. It's really interesting to see. But, it sounds like you know ball a little bit, Corey, but let's go into something you also know really well about, and that's IVF.
Yes.
You wrote and have published the IVF Playbook for Men. Can you take us through what inspired that, the story behind that a little bit? I could talk ball all day. This isn't a sports podcast. This is a dad podcast. I'm sure the dads will appreciate hearing the perspective of a former NFL guy and a man like yourself who knows ball the ways that you do from behind the scenes. It's really interesting to me. I could ask you questions all day about the locker room and stuff like that, but I really want to talk about IVF here for the second half of our podcast because that's what
Appreciate
I
it.
brought you on for to talk about. Because I honestly, I can't think if I've had a conversation with about IVF. I know I've talked about child loss. I know I've
Hmm.
talked about spousal loss, and I've talked about that child loss as well. But I've never talked about IVF and the creation of life this way. And so I think IVF's great. I think what has been said at a federal level by politicians and whatnot is great for IDF. I think it's great for a lot of families. I think there is an infertility crisis in our country that we're not talking about because we don't want to talk about that, and we don't want to talk about the reasons why we're having an IVF crisis, or not an IVF crisis. I'm sorry, a fertility crisis because of the food and the chemicals and things like that that we're putting in our bodies that are lowering our fertility rates and making it harder for men and women to conceive children naturally without medical intervention. So I think that's a whole other conversation, a whole nother rabbit hole to jump down.
Yeah.
But that's my take on IVF. I think it's great. I think it allows opportunity for families that wouldn't otherwise be able to, and I think it's 100% needed because we are in a steep decline in fertility and whatnot, and for children being born and our population going the wrong way versus up. So, anyways, enough of all that. Take us through what inspired the IVF playbook for men.
Thank you. Well, I think the biggest thing that inspired it was, the journey that I went on and my wife went on, and it's something that you talked about before. It's not talked about. I think it's not talked about because no one really knows about it. Even through our process of going through it, you rarely shared it with people, friends and family because they didn't understand it. So what happens is you kind of only share it with an isolated amount of people who are actually going through it because there's so many integral parts with IVF. There's so many moving parts there. And to try to explain it to someone who's not going through it, it's tough. It's one of those things where you try to mine was male factor infertility. So of course, no one's in the locker room talking about male factor infertility. It's not coming up at the bar or coming
So
during the football
what
game.
is male factor infertility then?
But basically, it's in a nutshell, it's when it's the male having the issue on the reproduction.
Got you.
It's when males aren't able to. The wife is fine, the mate is fine. It's the husband having the issue, and mine was a male
Got you.
factor issue. And truth be told, people don't know this that 50% of all infertility issues are male factor. The
I didn't know
automatic
that.
assumption it's the woman. The woman, something's going on with her. No, it's male. And mine was called asymptomatic, meaning I produce, but it's not coming out. Pretty much in a nutshell. So it's figuring those things out. So once again, who do you talk to about that? Because it's such an unknown thing. So if you go to talk to your friends about it, they're going to give you perspective based off what they think they know. So for example, you tell your friend you're having issues, they're like, well, just spin around and eat 3 eggs and jump and it'll be okay. You're like, it's not even close. It's a medical thing. So it
Eat
causes
some
you to
protein,
recoil.
take some tests.
Yeah. So it causes you to recoil and not even want to talk about it to anyone else. So I think
Yeah.
that's why it's not talked about readily outward because once again, no one understands it unless you're actually going through it. It's a foreign thing. So that's kind of one of the things why I wanted to put this book out here because there's so many men going through this right now. And once again, you feel isolated. And that's how I felt as a male, isolated, going through this issue. My wife was willing to talk to me at any point in time, have conversations, all those things. But at the same time, you wanted to have that other perspective from someone else who can understand what you're going through as a male. The guilt of saying that the reason why we are in this entire process is because of me, because I'm the weak link, I'm the weak teammate here. And my wife never said that one time, but internally, you're going to internalize that, that I'm the weak link, especially being a former athlete. You're always trying to figure out, okay, how can I get better and make my team better? But, I'm the one making our team worse, quote unquote. So it's trying to figure out how to navigate through that. But then also trying to navigate watching your partner go through so much. People don't know when women go through IVF, you're taking shots every day. You're going to doctor's appointments every other day. You're getting blood drawn. You're doing so many different things to make this thing even possible. So you live with that guilt of, I'm putting my wife through all of this stuff. And it's not a woe is me story, it's a reality. And then we had, 4 unsuccessful transfers. And what that means is basically we had transfers that didn't work. It's mostly a miscarriage. So basically we had 4 miscarriages. So think about that. You feel the guilt of it's male factor, so it's your fault. You feel the guilt of you're putting your wife through all this and they're going through so much. And then you have a loss on top of that. So how do you navigate that space of dealing with your own grief, but also helping your partner out who's doing the brunt of this? My wife is going through it physically and mentally. So it's trying to navigate that space between, supporting my wife who deserves it so much, but also support myself so I can support her. So the book kind of just walks men through that process. So they don't feel like they're on an island. You have these crazy thoughts as me. I remember at one point in time, I thought to myself, well, how about I just get a divorce so she can start a family with someone else? It's how wild a thoughts you have while you're going through this and you
I
feel
wouldn't even
so
say
bad.
that's wild, Corey. Like, Corey, I wouldn't even say that's wild because I think that's 100%. I would say that's a normal thinking. I think men think that for way less in some situations. It's like, man, I should just. I think our solutions as men are a little too narrow and too narrow sided sometimes, and
Mhm.
we think, "Oh, yeah, that person just be better off if I just, remove myself or,
Yeah.
remove myself from the situation here or, take myself out of it here," kind of thing. I think a lot of men, those are very common thoughts. I don't think those are
Mhm.
any of your thoughts here that you're thinking. I don't think they're crazy. I think they're normal.
Yeah.
Um, and the way
What
that you're normalizing them in the playbook as well is so impactful.
That's what's great. You're saying this to me now, but think about how you internalize with yourself. It was so
Yeah, no, I hear you. I
it's
hear
so
you.
great to hear. It's so great to hear you say that because had I expressed it, I would have heard it from you and be like, okay, this is okay. But often as men, we don't talk about stuff. We internalize it and keep it all in. And therefore, everything I'm thinking in my head, I'm the only one thinking that. But now I'm talking to someone else, like you, Jay, you say, that's not crazy. So now I feel better, like, okay, maybe I'm not. And that's kind of what helped out a lot is I did meet a guy who was going through the same thing at the same time. And, just have that conversation. We thought we were soulmates because we were able to understand each other, understand this side of IVF, as a male, the thoughts you have and those things. So once again, that's kind of why I created it. So people like you, Jay, can be more, educated. So you can talk to a friend that's going through it, because more people going through this and And like I said, if you talk to people, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I went through it. I'm going through it now. It's more common than we think it is. So what I'm trying to do is educate the men going through it, but also the family members also, so they can get an idea of what that person may be going through.
Yeah. No, I think that's important to have because you don't know the things you don't talk about, right? And no one can know the things you're going through if you don't talk about them. And I think it's important to have conversations like this on platforms like mine and others that you've done on and other things you've done to be able to start to normalize the conversation. And I think it really helps from someone that's in your unique position of having played in the NFL. So there's a hyper masculinity like aspect to just like you in general stereotype because you played in the NFL. You look like a big teddy bear to me, Corey. Um, I wouldn't be intimidated. I'm sure you could outrun me and tackle the crap out of me if you really wanted to, but you won't. You look like a pretty nice guy. I'll take the hit though. I'll take the hit though. I probably couldn't guard you. You would break my ankles probably, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Thanks for the
Um,
compliment. I appreciate it.
I'm a baseball player, okay? So you're gonna
Okay.
run all over me. Um,
Baseball is my favorite sport, actually.
hey, good, as it should be. But I think your position is really unique, right? People see an NFL guy talking about this, and I think that's why when an athlete or a former athlete, professional athlete talk, I think more people listen. Like if LeBron wants to come out and talk actually about, a book he's read more than 5 pages of, then people will listen, right? If he actually wants to have a real unscripted conversation, unpolarizing conversation after he's retired, which I think he will, about mental health or something or stuff he struggled with or fatherhood and things like that, people will listen and they'll be like, "Whoa, I relate to that." Or if when Michael's on the microphone next year broadcasting, people are going to tune into more games. But if he starts to talk about any like real life stuff like mental health or what he went through or the battles or the financial struggles that he went through with the Hornets or anything like that, and he opens up about that stuff, people will be like, I struggled in business too. Like I get that. Like I get that kind of thing. And people will understand it like different. Like they'll listen. They'll be like, "Oh, you know what? Actually, I remember an NFL player went through that."
Yeah,
And I think it's really cool when athletes like yourself and others talk about these things because it carries a different weight. And I think you're already doing it, but I think more athletes need to do it, right? Because if I remember correctly, I think I heard it one time someplace, but NFL players are like required, like in their contract, depending on the organization, to be part of like their communities or be part of like these causes and things like that. Because like now NFL players have like my cause, my cleats,
yeah.
I think. And so they're like required to be a part of some foundation or involved in the community in some way, shape, or form, giving back, which I think is great.
Yeah, so I never seen it required, but I think most guys feel comfortable doing it because just like me, when I was young, some young NFL player came and talked to my school, or some young NFL player. So you want to give back. I think that you kind of pay it forward when you do that because you know as a kid how much it meant to you when someone came and talked to your school, or someone came, you went to a camp. So that's kind of why a lot of NFL players do give back is because most of them know how it felt, so they want to give that back to someone else. And most of them have those situations where they had an interaction with an NFL player or athlete and changed their lives. So I think they want to be the ones to do that to another kid's life, which is amazing. But also what I want to do also do is redefine what masculinity is. I think that coming from a football player, the assumption of going to be masculinity is I can run through a wall, I'm tough. No, masculinity is it's coming in different ways. And one of the ways I want to talk about is being vulnerable and being open and talking about things that are not comfortable and being able to share things. So that's kind of what my mission also is, to redefine masculinity and what it looks like, and having the ability to talk about things that's uncomfortable and talk about things that really feel strongly about. So that's kind of my thought process on why I want to start this. And what you said before is so important about these guys are very influential because they seem like superheroes, right? Because they're playing professional sports. But when you realize that a superhero is just like you, it makes you feel good. You're like, oh wow, he's going through that, or he went through that. Wow, let me think about those things too. So I think it's a place for those guys to open up because once again, I think it's going to cause an impact because of that influence they have over people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love what you're talking about here with masculinity because I think now more than ever in 2025, masculinity is depends on who you talk to is how they're going to define it, right? And I think there's a weird divide between real masculinity and then when someone wants to conveniently say, when a woman wants to say, "Oh, that's toxic masculinity right there." It's
Hmm.
like, no, no. I like the episode that just came out today on the podcast. It's June 19th. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine, Paul. He hosts the Come On Man podcast. He gets some pretty hot takes, some pretty strong takes on like
Hmm.
dating and things
Hmm.
like that. But a lot of women will comment on his stuff and talk about his stuff and be like, "Oh, dude, you're toxic. This is
Hmm.
toxic masculinity," things like that. Stuff like I think part of Andrew Tate is pretty toxic, but I think there's a lot of good points that he has when it comes to masculinity too, and being a man and just being tough and things like that. That mainstream media will define as toxic masculinity, but then also there's a side that you can't be you can't be too soft, right? You can't be too vulnerable. You can't be too emotional. You have to be strong enough, but you can't be too strong. You can't have too much strength, but you can be scared, but you can't have fear or too much of it. You got to have enough money, but you can't have too much money because if you had too much money, then that's, going to be a bad thing in the end, right? So it's all like everything's misconstrued. And I don't think
Yeah,
there's
I
very
think
few positive masculinity narratives out there.
I think that we just oftentimes the one who have the voices are the ones who being extreme, whether it's one end of the platform or another. I think that those are the ones who are the loudest and have the microphone. I think a lot of us are in the middle somewhere. I think majority of us men are somewhere in the middle, but I think the ones with the loudest platforms well, not even loudest platform with the microphone or just the loudest are extreme. I think that that's what gets people attention. The more extreme you are, but if you go and judge most of America, most of men, period, we're all somewhere in the middle. You may sway back and forth a little bit one way or another, but we're not at extreme. And I think that's what happens, especially in this space right now, social media. All of them are set up for you got to be on one end of the perspective or the other, or you're not getting any looks or clicks or anything like that. So I think that's what we hear all the time. But I travel around this world a lot. I meet a lot of people, and I don't meet these extreme people that I hear online. I just don't meet them.
No,
But
I've never
once
met
again, I
one.
just think that they're the ones who have the loudest microphone right now. And I think the algorithm is set up for them to be able to get clicks because that's what moves the needle. But like I said before, I travel around this world. I'm talking to you right now. I've no stretch of imagination. I think you're extreme. You know what I mean? But I just think that those are the ones who get the most attention. But in my travels, in my day-to-day communication with people, men and women, most of us are somewhere in the middle. And every now and then we may slide one way or another, but not to the extremes that you and I see on internet right now.
Oh, and I think that's the internet too. That's what goes out there and what media does to create the division, right? To create like the narrative, like, oh, let's hyperize this so then we can use it to talk about this and then use it to talk about this to create a storyline, right? People like good storylines, they like big things and capture your attention, things like that. But the things we don't talk about are like the important things like this. This is a very important topic.
Yeah,
Friend of mine, Kelly Jean Pierre. He hosted the Miscarriage Dad podcast. Is that what? No, that's what he hosts now. He used to host the Welcome to Fatherhood podcast, but now he fully committed to the Miscarriage Dad podcast. Like that's an important show right there.
yeah,
That's an
yeah,
important one that I think more men need to listen to just to understand what another man might be going through. Just to say, hey, actually listen to that podcast, and they understand kind of what to say, what not to say, and we understand ultimately. Corey, if you came to me and be like, "Yeah, man, I'm freaking struggling," like, you can't get the words out. It's like, bro, I'm like, listen, I'm good. I'm here for you.
yeah,
Let me listen to you. Like, just talk to me, man. I'm here for you. Like, it's good. Like, you don't gotta find the word to say it a certain way. Like, just talk, man. I'll listen, kind of thing. I think that's what we need more of in the end
of
for
course.
topics like this, for IVF, for child loss, for when you as a man are dealing with infertility issues, when you have those thoughts of, it'd just be better if I was out of the picture,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
which I think are very normal thoughts in all this. But
You
you have those
validated those.
thoughts,
You
and
validated those thoughts. I mean, this quick podcast, you validated a thought I was having. But once again, if I'm isolated, not having that conversation, I'm just internalizing all of it.
that's why that why more men need to be able to be on the other side of that conversation and be comfortable, like you're saying here, like that change in masculinity, be comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations, right? Be comfortable just listening. Be comfortable taking your dad hat off or your man hat off and your practical advice hat and just listen.
Yeah,
Just listen, right? Because we're men, we love to fix, we want to fix our everyone in our lives, we want to fix everyone around us, we want to fix everything around us. Sometimes the best fix is just listening.
yeah, just listening. Yeah, and that's actually that's what I found out through this IVF process with my wife. Sometimes she wanted to talk about things or want to discuss things, and she didn't want to answer. She just wanted to just get it out and discuss. Oftentimes when we would talk about things in the beginning, I'm trying to find a solution to that or trying to give her answers or thoughts. And she's like, no, sometimes. So then I learned that that's part of it, just listening. And everything doesn't always require an advice. Everything doesn't always require your opinion. Sometimes just listening is the therapy. And that probably helped us out the most when I would just listen because sometimes she just wanted to vent. And then sometimes I just wanted to vent with no judgment. And what we did was we gave each other free space to do that. There was no judgment at all because in a split moment or a split emotion, you may feel a certain way. And you may get it out and say it about how you feeling right now. But then that may be a fleeting feeling. And an hour later, you don't feel like that anymore. But we never held that against each other. We just like, okay, that's how you felt. Move on. So you made a good point there. You definitely have to be a good listener and give people the space to express themselves and validate how they feel. And don't try to always give them advice on what you think. Sometimes just listening is great. And that's where in the book I talk about when talking to friends and family members, set the parameters for it. I give a quick story. Like I said, we had situations where we had miscarriages, and you tell someone that we had a transfer, waiting to hear results of if it took or not. They're calling you every 2 minutes. You hear anything? You hear anything yet? You hear anything yet? It's like, no, I haven't heard anything, but you're waiting for the doctor to call you. So every time the phone rings, you have that excitement. Maybe it's the doctor, but it's a friend calling. because they don't understand it. So that's what I mean when I talk to people about IVF. Make sure you set the parameters on with your friend and family members on the situation. I mean, if you choose to share with them, set the parameters because people don't understand. And no one did this out of spite or
Yeah.
anything. They're trying to help out the best way they know how. But once again, it's a delicate situation. So
Yeah.
I tell people in the book, make sure that you set the parameters for the conversations versus letting people just kind of like go all over the place.
Got you. No, that makes a lot of sense. You gotta set those boundaries, right? Everyone needs those boundaries. They need to understand kind of their place in all of it, and you know, I think the best way you can know this is beyond just you having to set the boundaries as a couple waiting and whatnot. Is that if you're on the other side of this and you're the family member, you're the friend or something, and you call me up, you say, "Hey, man, we just did a transfer. We're waiting to hear back." The best thing I can say in that situation is, "Corey, that's amazing, dude. Happy to hear that. Let me know how I can support you. I'm here for you. Either way, I'm here for you if it's successful or unsuccessful. But you let me know when you need support and how you need support, and I got you, bro."
Yep, yep,
And that's
yep.
it. And that's it. And then you go on and have a conversation about sports or whatever, right?
Yeah,
You leave it there.
no
You
doubt,
leave it
no
there.
doubt.
You do something, and then you'd be like, dude, do you need a like? Do you want to go out? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to hop on a game? Do you want to chat?
Mhm,
Kind of thing. Then you just offer, then you just offer the friendship, right? The relationship kind of things to take the mind off of it. Cause I think the best thing you can do as a support to someone is if this is a situation, I'm just friends with you and you call me, you tell me everything. Be like, look, man, do you need to, cause I know, especially if I know history too, and I'm supportive, be like, look, I know last time was a little rough. Do you want to go do something? Do you want to go catch a minor league baseball game, or do
mhm.
you want to go? Do you want to just go look around Lowe's?
Yeah, yeah,
Or
yeah.
something, like, just to help have a distraction or something that's gonna feel supportive or get your mind off it. You wanna go hit some golf balls, you wanna go to the batting cage or something, offer your time and then
Mhm.
offer your just, like, good vibes and, like, your positivity to them, right? But then just be supportive and just let them know, reassure them, like, "Look, I'm here for you either way, man, like, I got you. Let me know how I can support you," and then just offer that support and then offer your friendship.
Yep,
Right? Offer
yep,
your time and things like that. I think that's the best support that everyone can give. And guess what? That's all free support. You don't
yeah,
gotta give free life advice. You just gotta
yeah.
be supportive and kind.
Yep, yep, yep. So all good thoughts and those are the things I also discuss in the book also, those things. And even on the website that we have, it's the same concept of giving advice to friends and family members on, how to support in this process. And the reason why I waited to after, we have a beautiful son that's now 6 months old, the entire process, because it took me time to process what we just went through. It took me time to figure things out. I could never give out any advice while we were in the middle of it because I was still trying to figure things out. So this is months after, we had our son that I was able to process this and be able to feel comfortable with expressing everything I felt. And it even reopened some thoughts and feelings that I forgot I even had. But it's going to require, it required me to use a muscle that I didn't know how to use. It required me to understand what a teammate really is. And in the sports analogy, a teammate is someone who is supporting the team by making plays, supporting the team by, doing all kind of extra stuff. But sometimes a great teammate is being a good cheerleader, being a good support system. So I had to learn that because a lot of this process, once I did my part, I was on the sideline. It was my wife taking all the shots, my wife going through the ultrasound, things like that. So it's being a great supporter, but figuring out how to support people in the way they want to be supported. Now, how you think they should be supported. Ask them, what do you need from me? Like you said before, and let them lead the way and let them show you how. Because once again, you never know how someone's feeling or what they're going through. So you want to make sure you let them take the lead on how they want to be supported or how you can help them out and support them.
So you mentioned that you have a 6-month-old, and then this will wrap up after this. But you mentioned you have a 6-month-old now. What been your biggest joy, your biggest surprise, or biggest lesson learned about fatherhood now that you're in the trenches now?
Well, I will tell you this, my wife and I went through 3.5 years of IVF, went through 4 miscarriages. So you learn to appreciate it. I'm sure all dads appreciate having a kid. At the same time, what we went through to get him here, it makes me appreciate even more. And just when I hang out with him and see like the growth every single day, he's getting bigger. He's making, and then they need part. He's a healthy boy. and he's hitting all his marks and cues right now. He's rolling. He's making raspberries. He's doing all those things. And now I can be, which I wanted to be, the dad. My dad passed when I was 9 years old. But this guy, my dad left an amazing mark on my life just in 9 years. And I carry those things with me to this day about perseverance, about working hard, about avoiding the free lunch, all those things. So now I can pour that into my son. So even now at 6 months, I'm talking to him as if he's 26 years old. We're having like conversations because I want him to make sure that I can give him as much as I can while I'm here. Hope I'm here for another 200 years. But if not, I didn't waste a time or a second, pouring into him. So we go on walks every single day. We hang out every day, and I'm having conversations with him, and I'm reading to him every single day. So that's been the biggest joy, to be able to share my experience that I've had being a businessman, being an NFL player, all those things with him at such a young age. And right now he just listens and just smiles. So that's no pushback at all. So all my
Love that.
advice is great advice at this point in time, right?
That is, man. Heck yeah, that's amazing, man. Well,
Yeah.
of course, congratulations on a successful IVF journey. And then hopefully, if you guys do decide to hopefully more continued success, more continued healthy pregnancies, and whatnot, as you guys continue to grow your family as well. Because I'm telling you, even though people say two is better than one, it really depends on the day. I have two myself, but it really depends on the day.
When did you decide? Quick question. When did you decide to have another one? Like, what point in time did you decide to have another one?
My big thing personally my advice if you have one, you're looking at expanding, is get your first one out of diapers.
Mhm.
Get the first one off the latch, off the boob.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
them out of diapers and get them potty trained. You
Got you
accomplish
right there.
those 3 things, then or if you're close to accomplishing those 3 things, then
Start
start,
the process. Yeah, because
kinda
I
thing.
I wanted this.
Circumstances as they are, right?
Of
Every
course.
circumstance is different. I 100% understand that. Maybe you have to have more urgency and, have them, a year apart, have them 2 years apart, things like that, or whatever your circumstances and whatnot is. You gotta do what you gotta do, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. My advice, if you're able to, and it's fine, and you're at the age and resources, things like that, is to get one out of diapers, get them potty trained, get them off the boob. So then some of those like needy bonds are like broken, and then they're less needy and they can see you more as a help and more as they actually can take on more of a big sister, big brother kind of role because they are capable of grabbing a diaper or grabbing something or being a help. And those little kids that age right around 3, 4 years old, they love to be helpers. They love to help.
Yeah.
Uh, and they're gonna love to take care of the little baby too. So it's a cool experience.
Yeah, appreciate it. I asked that question because, like, at this point in time, we're still in the trenches of like sleep and things of that nature. I'm like, at what point in time do people decide to do this? I'm gonna do this again. Like, I'm gonna push the reset button on all this progress we just made. Just curious on that thought process. 'Cause like I said, it's been a joyous experience, but it's been an experience. Like I said, he's finally been able to sleep through the night. And there was a point in time it was like every 2 hours he would get up
Yep.
at night,
Yep.
and it's the continuous thing. So yeah, we're turned that corner. Knock on wood. So everything has been good.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you, man. Okay. Well, Corey, this has been a great conversation. I do want to jump into the dad zone real quick if you have a couple extra minutes. The
Yeah,
dad
sure.
zone is just some fun, lighthearted questions that I like to ask every guest that comes on the show before we close this one out officially. So, first question in the dad zone here. Who are 3 people, dead or alive, that you would like to invite over for a dinner party?
Definitely my dad, if I could, definitely invite him over for a dinner party. Of course, my brother, but let's say celebrities. Definitely Charles Barkley. Like to have him over to pick his brand. I think he's a hilarious guy. Probably like a Dave Chappelle. My number one would be Jay-Z, but yeah, those 3 guys
Yeah.
are definitely,
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's a party
amazing.
right there. That's a good
Yeah,
time. That's
I
gonna be a
mean,
good
you can
time.
learn so much and laugh at the same time.
Yep. Yep. I notice that a lot. A lot of people will pick someone like serious. They'll pick someone they just like really admire, like in whatever like profession they're in, someone that they look up to. And a lot of people will pick a comedian just to keep the mood light and keep it going,
Yeah.
keep the party fun and lighthearted. So that's really cool. What is your guilty pleasure food, or what was kind of your cheat food while you were in the league?
Man, to this day, M&M's, man. M&M's, man, I can eat a 2-pack large king size in a session. M&M's are still my cheat to this day.
Hey, love it.
Peanut M
Those are
M&M's,
gonna
by the
be
way,
real
peanut.
helpful.
Yeah,
Those are gonna be
peanut
real helpful
M&M's.
when you're potty training. Gonna be
Yeah, I
real helpful
bet.
when you're potty training.
I heard peanuts are Cheerios, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I potty trained my youngest daughter when she was potty training. I potty trained her with Skittles.
Okay.
She would get 1 Skittle for peeing in the toilet, and she would get 2 Skittles for pooping in the toilet.
Wow, okay, good, good,
And so
good,
that's a
good,
hack
good.
right there. Bribe your kids to potty train them. It's a
Yeah,
hack for
so
everybody.
definitely get it, turn them on to peanut M&Ms, definitely.
Yep. Get them going early.
Yeah.
Second last question here in the dad zone. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Yes.
Right then. All right then.
I love
Uh,
pineapple on my pizza.
okay. I guess former NFL players are, it's probably the head trauma, honestly. I'm just messing. I'm messing here. And then last question here. Last question here. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a young dad? Let's say he's 18 to 22 years old, super young, just starting out his fatherhood journey.
Be intentional about whatever you do. Be intentional and know that that child's watching everything you say and do. It's important. Real quick, I owned a all boys preschool in my hometown at age of 3 to 5, and I realized that those kids watch everything you do and they mimic everything you do. So definitely make sure that you're doing everything that you want him to be doing in front of him.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Corey, thank you so much today for this conversation on football, IVF, for opening up, for sharing your story. I can tell it truly all comes from the heart.
Thank you.
All comes from the heart, and I love that. I love that about you. I love that. I love the story that you shared today. Love that we got to talk ball and IVF. What a time.
Combination.
Combination, great combo. So to our listeners, check out IVFplaybook.com or IVFplaybookformen.com. And then Corey, is there also your CoreyParchman.com website as well? Good place.
Yeah, they can find a little, they can learn a lot about me personally on the CoreyParchman.com website. The IVF for Men, Playbook for Men website. They have everything IVF from a blog, from updates, online course, also their videos, and also the podcast. So everything, just look up IVF Playbook for Men. You'll find a podcast, you'll find the book, you'll find the
Love
website.
it.
Everything's all named the same thing.
Love it. And then I guess very last thing here, do either of the websites have your current 40 time on them?
My current 40 time is the last 40 time I ran, which is a 4.2. So I haven't run one
Hey,
since. So
hey,
no
it's
one can
still good.
prove.
It's still
No,
good.
yeah, no one can prove I can't run that right now. No one can prove that.
Hey, love it. 4.2 speed. Get him out there. Get him out there. Who needs a receiver? Call him up. Call him up.
I know, right? I one route left in me left. I have a go route left in me. So if anybody need a
Hey,
receiver, I got one route left. You need one play. You call me
you
up.
got that. You got that Terrell Owens on the Seahawks special right there.
Man, wow.
Or that Jerry Rice on the Seahawks special.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know why they always come to Seattle. I don't know why, but
I don't know.
um, I didn't give my pick earlier. I did want to shout out my local Seattle Seahawks. I'm predicting a Seahawks Raiders Super Bowl this year, mostly because I just love my man Pete. I'll always love Pete. Um, in Pete we trust, and shout out to him and love that what he's going to do there with the Raiders and how he's going to totally change that organization around, top to bottom just with his
Who's
leadership.
your quarterback at Seattle?
Sam Darnold.
Okay.
Just
All
kidding.
right.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Jalen Milrow about halfway through the season.
All
That dude's a
right.
dog. That's a
All
dog right
right.
there.
Why did you guys get rid of Gino? I mean, I thought he was doing pretty good.
He
Want too
was,
much
but
money?
he wanted more money. They didn't want him. We were able to get Darnold on the cheap and then draft Milrow, and we also traded DK. So then we brought in Cooper Cup, and so we just wanted to move things around a little bit and shake it up because why not? I think Mike McDonald wanted to create more of his system, his culture. He wanted to send the Pete guys back to Pete because I mean he traded him to the Raiders. Gino, and I think Gino really wanted to be there too. From what everything I read is that Gino wanted out if they didn't pay him, and Gino requested to go to the Raiders as well, and then to go reunite with Pete. So
Is that where Gino is right now in the Raiders?
yeah, he's starting for the
Okay.
Raiders. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, other than that, I think that's everything. Corey, this has been such an amazing conversation. This has been so fun. I've loved every second of it. It's been so fun.
Thanks.
I
Me
know our
too.
listeners will love this. And to our listeners, you listen to a podcast. I'm sure you listen to podcasts very often. Go and check out the IVF Playbook for Men. You can check that out, find that podcast as well. But for this podcast specifically that you're listening to, go ahead and do all the things that you can to show your love for support the podcast. Follow, rate, share the podcast, subscribe, do all the things that you should be doing to support the podcast as well. And then go ahead and head over to youngdadpod.com for all the things Young Dad Pod. You can check out the Instagram, you can check out the blogs, you can check out YouTube videos, and then as well, you can get the free interactive activity guides for every episode as well. And then if you are curious on other ways to support the podcast, maybe you want some great products or things like that, products that I personally work with, you can go down to the description of this episode. You can get those right there and you click the link to the link tree. You can also head over to Instagram and get the link right there as well. And then check out the links and other ways to support the podcast as well. So with that, we hope you enjoyed your juice box today. Hope you enjoyed your snack, and we're going to catch you right here in the next conversation.